clear out my closet.
Make apples candies.
Thank you. Thanks.
I guess I'm talking she says. Okay, choir, let's get up and sing. I guess I have to have it. Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, come along. Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. I'm Lisa Conger, your lay leader for this morning. Whether you are a longtime member or visiting for the first time, we are glad you are here. We value each individual's unique background, beliefs, and lifestyle. We welcome also those of you watching us through the internet. We are glad you are here or here in spirit. Our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in the wider world. Or, in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. In that vein, I want to bring to your attention a pair of workshops on nonviolent communication called Bridging the Divide. The workshops are being led by Kathleen McFerrin, a certified trainer with the Center of Nonviolent Communication, and they will be held here at the church on Wednesday, October 4th, and Saturday, October 7th. The workshops are intended to help us learn how to get past sticking points with hot-button topics, stay with conversations that are hard, connect in a meaningful way with the people who have different views, and understand how listening is a key component of social change. More information is available at a table in the Friendship Hall, which you're most welcome to look at after the service. And I have a couple of people who wanted to give some brief announcements. So Diane and Devon, they're coming.
Okay, so I promised 60 seconds, so I'm going to try and watch myself here. There's so much going on in this church all the time that is so exciting. So people who are new, I want to encourage you to take advantage of this upcoming opportunity for the annual auction. So here's my plug for today. This will give you an opportunity to meet new people, to find out what's going on. I mean, there's literally something going on every day. I mean, I've been here for, I think, 6 weeks, and I'm still amazed at all of the things that I learn about that are happening. So I want to encourage everyone to participate. You can either donate or you can just be a part of the experience, but it's a wonderful opportunity to meet new people, find out what's going on in this lively church. See Candace in the back afterwards. She's got a table there, and we'll tell you all about the auction. And it's very exciting. Here's some ideas. If you think you don't have something to contribute, there's there's a lot. So great ideas, and I hope that you will get excited about this auction. Like I said, next weekend. Oh, I went over 10 seconds. So I'll quit. So find out about it, and we encourage you to participate. Thanks.
Hiya, my name's Devon Grayer-Beal, and I am a team leader for the Healthy Relations team here at the church. And Pam Davies, where are you? There she is. You want to stand up quick? She's a team leader for the social justice team. And the two teams have sort of decided that we wanted to do something together. And the together thing is that we are going to host some meetings after church, essentially, where we're going to investigate social justice. Let me just, why do I do this always? At Gonzaga University, there's going to be a whole raft of information and things to go to about hate studies. And what we're interested in is exploring privilege, the documentary screening of Free Angela and All Political Prisoners, another documentary film screening, and With Liberty and Justice for All, responding to hate and cyber terrorism. So, there's a whole ton of stuff that we kind of want to address in one way or another. And hopefully you will come to the back table back there. Pam Davies will be there. I will be there. We would like to have groups where you feel comfortable, safe, and involved, and we can discuss anything at all that you want to talk about. But we sort of think that these are the times right now when talking with people that you feel safe with might be a really good idea. And so, I guess that's what I got to say. Oops. Good idea. Actually, the beginning starts on Exploring Privileges October 10th, and that's in Hemmingson Hall. The documentary screening of Free Angela and All Political Prisoners is October 12th, also Hemmingson Auditorium. Engaging with Communities for Justice Conference, that's October 19th through the 21st. That's something I did forget to mention, that there will be opportunities for you to buy a community ticket, I guess, where you can come to everything that's presented for those 3 days. And that's $25 for the whole thing. And if you want to go to the dinner, that will cost $50. And if you, the fellow who started the Southern Poverty Law Center, he, I forget his name, but, everybody knew it was Morris Dees, right? But this fellow also helped start that, and he is the keynote speaker. So $50 is probably a pretty good deal. And if we get a bunch of people together, we can have a table. 8 people. It takes 8 people to have a table, $50 a pop. So that's another thing you can talk to us about if you're serious about that. The dinner is on Saturday night. So that would be the Friday, Saturday, 20th. 20th. And then on the 25th, Angela Davis is talking. I mean, at Hemmingson Center. If you don't know where Hemmingson Center is, if you know Gonzaga campus at all, there's a soccer field, and then there's the place where we all go to watch basketball. I notice I say all. It's the big building, the brand new building on the other side of the soccer field. So, very accessible. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to hear wonderful speakers, and I think it just should jazz us all up. And yeah, I got to get out of here. Come talk to me afterwards.
Yes. Please join Devon and have her answer all your questions. So now take a moment to meet and greet those around you, and make a special effort to greet those you do not know or who are new to the church. You will have lots of opportunity to talk amongst each other after the service. But for now, we'll move to formally begin our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth is lost, and a shadow of doubt wherever it has been found. Our guest this morning is our own church member, Inga Laurent, who will be sharing some of her observations and reflections about doing social justice work. I will introduce her more fully before her presentation. In light of this theme, our opening reflection is this poem by someone named Signature Mimi. I found it in a social justice calendar. Inquiry. Sometimes I question myself, not because I doubt myself, more so because I am in disbelief that I have the power within myself to be myself. Sometimes I question myself. I question the toughness of my skin, the tenderness of my heart, and the tightness of my mind. I question this journey ahead of me and the mission that has brought me to this moment with newfound space, with infinite meaning. Sometimes I question the capacity of my lungs to breathe in this life. Sometimes I question the waters that make up the majority of my mass. Sometimes I question the fire in my phoenix rising from the ashes and dust. Sometimes I question my ability to stay grounded as the universe pulls me back into itself, only to release me whole. To remind me, I am here, not just to question, but perhaps to answer.
You will notice that we, again, are not using our screen this morning. We're hoping very soon to have things back in better order with that. So I will ask you to access your hymnals. We're going to sing number 159. This is my song. It's in your hardback gray hymnal. Would you please stand as you're willing and able?
If we could have our young people come forward for the story, that'd be lovely. Our story for all ages this morning is called The House on Dirty 3rd Street. And the author is Joe S. Kittinger. Mom said starting over would be an adventure, so I imagined a tropical island with palm trees and buried treasure. Not this. All the houses on 33rd Street were old and run down, but the one with the for sale sign was the worst. I call the whole place Dirty 3rd Street. It's perfect, said Mom. Doesn't look perfect to me, I said. It's perfect, she said, because we can't afford it. Try looking at it through the eyes of faith, said Mom. I squinted and tilted my head. Still looks horrible to me, I said. Soon the house on Dirty 3rd Street was ours, but before we could start moving things in, we had to move trash out. A neighbor watched from her front yard. Hi there, Mom called out to her. I've hired a man to take a load to the dump. Is there anything you'd like to add to our trash pile? I don't know. The woman sounded like she hadn't trusted anyone in years. Before long, Mom and I were wrestling an old sofa from Mrs. Huddle's porch to the curb. And by the end of the day, word had spread. The pile in front of our house became a mountain. Now, the bathroom was so filthy, it made shivers run down my back. "It will look and smell better when it's clean," said Mom. So all day Saturday we swept and scrubbed, and I was dog-tired and grouchy. Clearing away the trash and dirt just made it obvious how ugly the place truly was. "This house will never look good," I mumbled. "You may be right," said Mom. She sank to the floor in the corner. What was I thinking? I slumped down beside her and I leaned my head against her shoulder. "Remind me," I said to her, "how did you see it?" "I saw a pretty white house with blue shutters," she said. "There were flowers on the porch. The windows sparkled and curtains danced in the breeze. The kitchen was full of friends, and I smelled cookies hot from the oven." Mom's eyes got dreamy looking. Then she shook her head. "I miss our old neighborhood," she said, "and all my friends from church." "Well, we can make new friends," I said. I stood up. I dusted myself off. "I saw a church a few blocks away," I said. "Let's go in the morning." So after breakfast, we walked to the church. In Sunday school, the teacher asked if anyone had prayer requests. "Well, we just moved here and our house needs a lot of work," I said. "I don't want my mom to cry anymore. Please pray that she can see the house with the eyes of faith and that I somehow can see it that way too." So not long after we got home, I heard a knock at the door. "Good afternoon, ma'am," a man said when Mom opened the door. At church this morning, I heard you could use some help around here." Mom was showing him all the broken bricks on the porch when Mrs. Huddle walked across the street. "Thought these might cheer things up a little bit," she said. "Once upon a time, my flowers used to bloom on nearly every porch in this neighborhood." Mrs. Huddle started transplanting the flowers into an old cement planter in the yard. A few minutes later, a car pulled up. Next thing I knew, a whole family was heading our way, including my Sunday school teacher and a girl my age. "Welcome to the neighborhood," my teacher said. "My husband is a great handyman." The man took one look at the peeling paint and then he pulled out his cell phone. Let me get a few more folks over here," he said. By the next weekend, our house looked like an anthill. Men on the roof hammered shingles. My new friends and I scraped peeling paint. A lady fixed loose bricks on the porch, and another neighbor worked on the plumbing. The sun settled behind our house, and the workers took a break. I opened the door, and the smell of cookies, hot from the oven, made my mouth water. Finally, I could see it, our place, just as Mom had, through the eyes of faith. We had found our perfect home. And somehow, I knew that I would not call it Dirty 3rd Street anymore. Thank you. And if we can sing our children out, please.
And in that spirit of generosity, we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the wider world. Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle light this morning for all those in the midst of the destruction of the hurricanes and earthquake, and for those coming to their aid. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Those named aloud and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. Now is the time in our service for our meditation. Please find a comfortable posture and take some deep breaths as I lead you into the silence with this poem by Wendell Berry. What we need is here. Geese appear high over us, pass, and the sky closes. Abandon, as in love or sleep, holds them to their way, clear in the ancient faith. What we need is here, and we pray not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and in eye, clear. What we need is here. Our reading this morning is from Peter Dean Rickards. We are Jamaicans living within and without cultural control. We are at once proud nationalists and harsh critics of our country of origin. A country known for extremes, a place packed with originality and creative energy that continues to flourish despite the current socio-political state that has removed the personal pride of many. An island filled with beauty unsurpassed and ugliness that would make a rat puke. This is the afflicted yard, a place of extremes where you will see life as we see it.
And we'd actually like you to help us out a little bit with our tune right before this sermon. It is a song about from another island, at Georgia Sea Island Spiritual, and you'll find it in your turquoise hymnal. And the chorus will be, even if you don't have a hymnal near you, the chorus is so easy, you'll be able to jump in there. So open the window, children. Oh, 1022. Sorry. 1022 in your turquoise hymnal. Open the window, children. Open
Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Neighbors lock their doors, nail fences so high. Open the window, let the dove fly in. On the other side. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Borders round the trees, borders round the sky. Open the window, let the dove fly in. The only border close to is the border around your mind. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Choir's going to go home. Inga Laurent is the director of the externship program and associate professor of law at Gonzaga, and she has been a member of our church for about 3 years. This is what she writes. I started my career as an attorney working to provide legal services for victims of domestic violence. I quickly learned that the solutions found in traditional legal systems were limited. A little disillusioned, I transitioned to a career in legal academia, where I now have the opportunity to work with students. My hope is to better prepare them for the challenges they will face and to prepare them to assess and place themselves in positions where they can leverage their passions and influence to make improvements to the system where they seem necessary. Welcome, Inga.
I'm struggling. But in truth, it's been that way for quite some time, since foot touched ground in this land of wood and water. They say there are different Jamaicas, and I no doubt know this to be true. In all honesty, I'm not sure which Jamaica I will leave with in my mind. The paradox of life here is so astounding. Splendor always brushing up against pain, fear hovering on the periphery, worry right inside the line of sight. Eclipsed momentarily when depth returns to breath and light comes pouring through. Joy heightened by anxiety. Which of these is more genuine? Is one real simply because the other exists? Tangibility through co-occurrence? Sometimes I'm surprised to learn new contours of a mind that I believed I knew so well. I thought I had managed my fear only to realize that fear had often managed me. Ugliness is sneaky that way, making life myopic, narrow, tight, restricting the range of possibilities imaginable, causing me to only see a landscape of corruption, chaos, and systems failing to function, Moments when I can only focus on Dennis's nephew, shot 10 times in front of a KFC, the grit, the filth, the cacophony of ramshackle tin neighborhoods, the boy in the taxi cab shot on his way to school, whose killer could not be prosecuted for lack of evidence, the electric current surging through a frenzied crowd as they run toward and not away from the fresh blood that flows in the street after a police officer was killed with his own gun. The sound of a neighbor yelling for help as she's robbed at knife point at 8:30 in the morning on her walk to work. The strain in a young man's face as he momentarily opens to say, "Miss, I'm tired of the violence." A newfound ability to judge gunshot proximity by sound. How can we continue standing inches from such a precipice? Sometimes, I'm surprised to feel the scowl affixed to my face instinctively smooth into a smile. I thought I had forgotten how to dance, only to realize that my feet were already moving long before my mind even registered the beat. Beauty is sneaky that way, making life grander, expansive, sweeping, opening a range of limitless possibilities, allowing me to see scenes of warmth, fecundity, and systems of thriving interconnection, moments when I can only focus on the sweet, juicy, fibrous taste of an Otahiti apple, the crisp, shocking thrill of sliding into a frigid waterfall after a long and arduous hike, the laughter of boys imitating lawyers, mastering and wielding concepts of cross-examination, the pastel-painted sky of sunrise across the valley, feeling like Belle walking through the streets of her hometown, waving and smiling and speaking "mornin', mornin'" to security guards patrolling, men with machetes for gardening, and women carrying bags of fresh fruit and veg. The sounds of voices softly singing along anytime music is playing. A discussion of best practices among a room full of community volunteers and peacemakers. How can we drink such goodness into the soul? In all honesty, I'm not sure which Jamaica I will leave with in my heart. I struggle because the centrality of this duality is part and parcel of life here. I struggle because the gnawing guilt of privilege that allows me some measure of escape. I struggle over all that I will miss, and I struggle because this reality has existed long before my arrival and will remain long after I am gone. I'm struggling, but in truth, it's been that way for quite some time, since foot touched ground in this land of wood and water. I wrote this essay a few weeks before I would leave Kingston. I had lived there for 9 months, and those were 9 of the most difficult months of my life. I struggled with my time there, and to be honest, I'm still struggling to make sense of it now. My thoughts about Jamaica, much like the land itself, are very complex. If we're being honest, I have some hesitation about sharing my views because there is so much negativity surrounding the experience. And for those of you who know me, you know I typically tend to land on the positive. I try to make sense of everything, and I haven't finished making sense of Jamaica. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'll be struggling to integrate the lessons this country and her people have taught me for the rest of my life. I'm also worried about saying everything that I need to say because I am all too keenly aware that I am speaking on behalf of a country and that my statements have the power to influence perception. As someone who walks around, often being asked to and often being assumed to speak on behalf of a race, I hedge when having to summarize an experience that many will not have the opportunity to have for themselves. Jamaica is struggling, but they are also only a recently independent nation, a formerly colonized Black developing nation that is trying to put their country together against great odds. But the only real response to confronting something that you need to is to face it, to talk about it, to bring it to light, to tumble over it until it makes some sense to you. And so that's the reason I'm here today. As I said, Jamaica is struggling. I cannot stand here and talk about the incredible beauty of a country, of the resilience and the ingenuity of its people, without also acknowledging the horrific crime, problems, and conditions of fear and stress that its people are living under. The country has an inordinately high homicide rate, placing it among the top 5 highest per capita homicide rates in the world. Crime is tied to many factors there, including poverty, retribution, drugs, gangs, and politics. The majority of crime is gang-related, and organized crime is prevalent and extremely active. In fact, police are only about able to make arrests in 54% of the homicide cases annually, and only 7% of those receive convictions. Citizens are living in conditions that make them feel constantly unsafe. And you cannot grow. It's very difficult to thrive if you are living in fear and trying to obtain your basic necessities. Signs of security are omnipresent, and there is a buzz on the island that can feel like the world is spinning out of control and dangerous. Jamaicans are constantly questioning the effectiveness of their government, especially the police and the judicial system. Because of high levels of distrust and because of actual levels of sometimes inefficiency, vigilante justice and retribution are common aspects of life there, and they only serve to elevate the levels of violence across the island. The Ministry of Justice, visionaries, and international partners have been working on this problem intensely for some time. For their part, the Ministry of Justice has embarked on a pretty ambitious agenda that includes goals to develop systems that address root causes of crime, restore public trust and confidence, improve access to justice, strengthen the ties of justice entities, improve infrastructure, and embed social components into justice services. One of the major tenets of their plan is to develop a robust restorative justice system. I don't have as much time as I would like to share information with you about restorative justice, but please indulge me for just a bit while I absolutely nerd out on the topic. For me, shifting the way that we think about justice, certainly in Jamaica, but especially in our own society, is absolutely vital to the health and welfare of all humanity. I am a lawyer, and I have watched a system that I was educated in and worked in produce what I viewed as failed results for my clients over and over again. In just 3 years, I was so devastated by what I was seeing that I could no longer practice law. I now work with students asking them to be reflective about the system and their role in it, and I work to reform our criminal justice system. I'm vocal about the many ways that we must transform our thinking around issues of crime and punishment. So here's your really brief primer on why I'm so excited about the ideas behind restorative justice. The current response to crime throughout much of the world is retributive. Think about it. Cliches such as you do the crime, you do the time, an eye for an eye, and just desserts are colloquialisms which reflect the deeply rooted response that we have to crime and punishment. It's a response that can frankly almost feel innate in us. However, retributive systems of justice are actually relatively new, since about the Middle Ages. And it's just one of the many ways that we can choose to respond to crime. In fact, restorative justice actually has been the dominant model of criminal justice throughout most of human history, and perhaps for all of the world's people. Consider it this way. Think about societal evolution, and you'll begin to understand the necessity of a restorative model. Early hominids, think hunter-gatherers, lived a pretty precarious existence. They were deeply communal and required interdependence for survival. Therefore, removing a productive member of a tribe, even those who committed a wrongdoing, was not typically a viable method and could only be resorted to in the direst of circumstances. So keeping peace and avoiding intertribal conflict were of the utmost importance. And for most of human history, reconciliation and restitution to victims and their kin took precedence over vengeance. Preserving relationships was of primary importance, and restorative practices accounted for this and developed to foster repair for those damaged relationships. In essence, a restorative approach to offending behavior is one in which the relationships and the harm caused takes precedence over assigning blame and applying sanction. The humanity of individuals had to be recognized and accounted for, and diversity and a wide range of skills and talents were the cornerstones of survival. Today, Our independent lifestyles have shifted us from this way of being. Today's model of justice does streamline the crime management problem process for its citizens, and it absolves us of our duties associated with crime and places the burden on the state. And, to be honest, this makes sense. It's convenient. It allows for a more consistent administration of justice. However, the effect also strips citizens of the opportunity and the responsibility to be meaningfully involved in the justice process. Restorative justice seeks to correct that imbalance, asserting that crime is not solely a violation of fixed laws, but it's a conflict, and one that should be returned to its rightful owners for resolution. Niles Christie, a prolific writer on restorative tradition, theorized the importance of that conflict ownership, saying that conflicts belong to those who are directly affected by them, victims, offenders, and the community. With a rather harsh critique of the traditional system, he stated, "Criminal justice institutions and law professionals steal those conflicts from the affected parties and rob them of their opportunity, their right, and their duty to learn and grow through their conflicts." Without opportunities for growth, victims, offenders, community, and even the state can potentially manage crime, but transcendence of that crime is doubtful. We continue to treat symptoms and not the underlying problems. As I said earlier, Jamaica is in the midst of a judicial crisis, a justice crisis, just as we are in terms of over-incarceration in the United States. And though I have many critiques about prisons and the level of functioning or non-functioning of our system, if you commit a crime here, you will most likely be held accountable. Remember my statistics about Jamaica. If you commit a crime there, that same result is not so likely. So that presents both incredible opportunities and incredible challenges for restorative justice to thrive. And whether it will be successful remains to be seen. I do believe that it's laudable for a national government of a country to embrace and adopt a compassionate, innovative, and healing approach to justice that centers on rebuilding community and empowering its citizens. But if that empowerment comes with a lack of ability to put into place measures that hold people accountable, will it really work? Can the very system trying to operate a subset of its own system that isn't functioning in other levels really be the bridge for people to work out their conflicts? And can a government with a top-down approach work to implement a system that has almost always been a bottom-up, reflexive, community-oriented system? Can the government really shift the retributive culture of an entire nation? The truth is that I don't know. But I do have immense admiration and respect because they are trying. And what else are we to do? If I have learned anything from this experience, it is that these decisions are not abstract, but they are real, and they directly affect people's lives. And no matter what, we must always try, even in uncertainty. But I will admit that I left Jamaica confused, and that I am still confused, and that I have so many more questions that I have answers about Jamaica, about justice, and frankly, about myself. This experience tumbled me into myself in ways I never imagined. I have changed. I have lost much of my idealism, and I have become more pragmatic. This was the most difficult experience of my life so far, and I have known some difficulty. I am grateful to be home, but I miss Jamaica too. Mostly, I miss the people. I miss sitting with Dennis, the security guard stationed at Westgate, who could spin stories for hours as we shared patties, talking of how Jamaica has changed and the evils that the country is facing, finding out that he, like many in the country, were much better informed about American politics and history than most Americans are, and learning about how he used to see houses on the mountain and wanted to buy one for his mother. And I miss his singing. I miss Max's lessons on gardening with a machete. I miss my long car rides and running errands with Christopher, a taxi driver who became a friend and a lifeline. I miss our discussions about politics, religion, and his dreams to own his own car and his own company and his dreams for his daughter. And I miss Nina. who, from very little, put herself through school at UE to graduate with a master's degree in social work, and who somehow manages to love Jamaica in its fullness, in its complexity, with all its contradictions, transcending the misogyny, the rigidity, and the corruption in her society, and embracing all of its beauty, embracing all of its paradoxes. When I think of Nina, I think of how I want to be in this world. I want to embrace my own paradoxes, the one that I was often too blind to see before my perceptions were challenged. Brene Brown quotes Carl Jung in her newest book saying, "Only the paradox comes near to comprehending the fullness of life." Jamaica has shown me how true that is. Whereas I couldn't fully see them before, I now feel them everywhere, and I'm trying my hardest to embrace them. I see them here in the US, that I can be proud to be from this country while still being critical of the many improvements that we need to make. That I can both take a knee and honor military members who have given their lives for ideals that they believed in. I know that I can support and respect my cousin who's a police officer while protesting and holding his brothers and sisters accountable to ensuring that they recognize and educate themselves on how unconscious bias can skew their perception. In Spokane, in my community, I know that I can be an advocate for historic preservation and still want to see us evolve as a city. That I can support my progressive city council members and be furious at them when they spend $150,000 to put rocks on the ground and dehumanize our homeless brothers and sisters. Yeah. And on the softer side, I also realized that I could leave my community, my people, and still stay connected to all of you. Through FaceTime and emails and Messenger and seeing your faces every week on the live stream, that you could support me in so many ways through one of the hardest times in my life without actually being physically present with me, and that you did. But perhaps the most important lessons I learned in Jamaica were really about myself. That I can simultaneously be powerful and powerless, that some situations could bring me immense joy, and that same situation could also absolutely break my heart. That being lonely isn't necessarily the same thing as being alone. That even when I am away from home, that I can find family wherever I go. And that even though at times I can feel anchorless and untethered, insecure because I have suffered the loss of a home, my family of origin that was my home, that I still have a home within myself. That I am stronger than I ever imagined, that I did survive Jamaica, and that I survived the upending of many of the beliefs that I had about the world. And that even though I was gone, I was never really all that far away from home.
So let's celebrate having Inga back with us by singing a favorite hymn of so many of us, and certainly of hers, number 1064 in your turquoise hymnal, Blue Boat Home. Please stand as you're willing and able.
Still my dry land heart can sing.
Her benediction are these words: make us aware of the truth and beauty around us, the truth and beauty within us, and the truth and beauty we can transform into the world. Amen. Blessed be. Salam aleikum and shalom.